All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Public Board of Supervisors meeting August 9th, 2023. We'll do the call to order and start out with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, for roll call, we have all the supervisors present tonight. Danielle Jouen, Susan Garrett, Mark Donovan, Martha Majeski, and Bob Cooney. And announcements of executive sessions on July 24th, 2023. We had an exec session as well as one before tonight's meeting to discuss personnel matters, potential land acquisition, and legal matters. Tonight we have a presentation, and I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan. You can do the introduction from Clean Energy Transition Plans, Chester County Vision Partners Program. If you want to take it from here.
Do I identify myself and address, or is that for? Okay, sure. All right, so I'm Jonathan Myers, and I live at 555 Country Club Road in Phoenixville. Been a Schuylkill Township resident for 8 years and have been involved with the Township's Environmental Advisory Council for most of that time. So I'm here to thank the Board of Supervisors for your ongoing interest and support for clean energy in Schuylkill Township, and for having Practical Energy Solutions here tonight to provide a summary of the process and accomplishments of the Vision Partnership, or VPP, grant program. So in addition to talking about the grant, Practical Energy Solutions will also summarize the Clean Energy Municipal Plan and Community Plan that we hope you will officially accept tonight. These plans will serve as a long-term clean energy guide for township operations and for township residents, and were the product of an 18-month grant process. The plans also resulted from a much longer process that started over 5 years ago when the Environmental Advisory Council first began discussing clean energy. That resulted in the Board of Supervisors passing a clean energy resolution for our township 4 years ago, which then led to our participation in this VPP grant for clean energy planning, which we applied for 2 years ago. Because of this grant, Schuylkill Township, as well as the townships of East Pikeland, West Pikeland, and West Vincent, were able to work together for the last 18 months with Practical Energy Solutions to create the clean energy plans for each of the 4 participating townships. So tonight, the municipal plan and the community plan for Schuylkill Township are before you, and Practical Energy Solutions is here to describe the origins and purpose of the grant, how the plans tie into policy at the county level, how Practical Energy Solutions worked with Schuylkill and the other townships over the last 18 months, and some of the key deliverables from the process, particularly Schuylkill Township's municipal plan and community plan for clean energy, which I ask that you accept tonight following the presentation, discussion, and Q&A. Thank you, and here is Marika Selzler with Practical Energy Solutions.
I'm just going to click the slides forward, so I'm going to go mobile. So thank you for the introduction, Jonathan. So my name is Marika Selzler-Williams. I am with Practical Energy Solutions, who was working directly with the EAC representatives and their staff members to develop these plans over the last, but I guess it's been 18 months. So like Jonathan stated, this all started with the resolution a couple years ago to set a goal for transitioning towards more responsible energy use in the township as a whole, as well as for the municipality. This is all pretty much reiterative of Jonathan, so I won't go into more detail, but it was funded in part by the Chester County Planning Commission Vision Partnership Program grant. And we usually have a very eloquent county member here tonight to go into more detail, but at least I have his notes. So we worked very closely with the Chester County Planning Commission in support of the partnership between the county and the 4 townships in the development of the plans. Landscapes 3, as I imagine you're well aware of, is the county comprehensive plan that sets a course for future growth and preservation for a 10-year horizon that started when it was adopted in 2018. Landscapes 3 provides strategies under 6 topic areas: preserve, protect, appreciate, live, prosper, and connect. And Schuylkill's clean energy transition plans are consistent with Objective E under the Connect goal, promote safe, sustainable, and resilient energy communication systems at the local, regional, and national level. The Vision Partnership Program that partially funded the development of the plans was established over 25 years ago to fund the partnership between the county and the 73 communities to implement the common goals for Landscapes 3. The vision for the County Climate Action Plan is to reduce the county's contribution to the global climate changes and equitably improve the health and well-being of the community by reducing greenhouse gas emissions through government leadership and collaboration, mitigating impacts of climate change through resiliency and planning, transitioning to clean and sustainable energy generation. The Climate Action Plan also has main objectives categorized as buildings and energy, waste management, transportation, land use, agriculture, food and forestry. And there's some the plans are consistent with many of the objectives under the Climate Action Plan, as you would imagine, but specifically as part of the use of the Vision Partnership Program to support the development and implementation of local community renewable energy planning and ordinances, providing information on financial resources for weatherization and energy improvements for homeowners, and promoting the use of electric vehicles and high fuel efficiency vehicles to municipalities and residents. So to summarize, in the county's eyes, the plans being considered tonight are consistent with Landscapes 3 and the Climate Action Plan. And the county also sees this as a pilot for other communities in the county to follow in the footsteps of this group. So our effort encompassed, I don't know where I'm least in the way here. Try this. Encompassed not only the development, review of, and formalization of the plans themselves, but also detailed energy audits of the municipality's buildings, solar feasibility, and planning for fleet electric vehicle transitions. A review of the governance in the eye of reducing roadblocks to the development of clean energy, as well as community engagement planning, working with the teams that will be doing the ongoing outreach and implementation of the plan, which will largely fall on the shoulders of the EAC. So the deliverables, the formal deliverables, are 2 sister plans, a municipal plan and a community plan, the outlines of which are up here. And the municipal plan goes into what it would look like for the municipal operations to have a goal of clean energy, moving away from lower efficiency technologies towards higher efficiency, moving towards electrification with the end goal of being supplied by renewable energy, not only in buildings, but the fleet, as I mentioned, as well as for ordinances and governance that to reduce the roadblocks to support this development community-wide. So the community plan looks at a little bit broader picture and helps as a guide to residents, businesses, nonprofits, schools, et cetera, in the community to have a guidebook of what to do first, what to do next if we're going to make these strides towards a renewable, a clean energy future. So these are the formal deliverables, if you will, and what's more formally up for acceptance. But we also had some supporting deliverables like the energy audit report that I mentioned, some of the community outreach planning documents, some supporting materials like a homeowner's guide to solar, a business's guide to renewable energy, that sort of thing, that follow along that community plan and are a little bit more digestible than the 50-page plan. So where we are now is, this is the presentation of those plans for acceptance by the Board of Supervisors, if you're in agreement, and that would satisfy the grant And then in the future, by all means, I encourage you to consider adoption of the plan, but that's a little bit more involved. And we as Practical Energy Solutions are wrapping up our effort with this group, but are continuing to finalize some of the deliverables and move towards supporting the plan implementation. And then it falls on the clean energy transition team I don't even want to say begin implementation because things are already happening. So continue working towards these goals. That's all I got. Any questions? All right. Made it easy on me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So in the plan, we talk about the clean energy transition team. How is that, what are your thoughts about how that looks going forward? We had obviously,
So my question's regarding the clean energy transition team. And how does that look going forward? I saw in the report that there's a recommendation that one be created. It could be used in partnership with the EAC. And this might be a question for Jonathan as well. Do you see that as a subset of our EAC? Do you see that as a standing committee of the board, similar to the Historical Society or the commission? I'm just curious how you see continuing the momentum.
Yeah, I think it's a flexible framework. I mean, right now it is a subset of the EAC and the supporting parties in the or the township administration. And so there is a partnership with the other townships. So we have Dennis Ray here, who is the spearhead from East Pikeland Township. So at the moment, there's kind of the individual township subsets. However, that seems to make sense for the implementation as part of the team. But there is complete intention for ongoing collaboration between the 4 townships that were part of it.
And I meant specifically with our township, not to discount the collaboration with the other townships, but I'm curious to see, get Jonathan's perspective of how you see this continuing in our township, with our township residents.
Maybe I can just add to that, and that is if you're looking for future.
I'm sorry, can you, just for the record, if you could give
Dennis
your
Ray, East Pikeland Township, 295 West Seven Stars Road. And I've been involved with this from the start and chair of the multi-municipal effort. But what I wanted to say is Jonathan and other key members from the various townships are planning a joint outreach session coming up probably in September with PECO providing home energy assessments. All those home energy assessments for people who attend the meeting will be at no cost. So that's a great, cost innovation. And they do kind of envelope analysis of where you're losing heat or losing cool, that sort of stuff. Maybe some improvements to some of the systems. And they provide about $50 to $75 worth of LEDs. So it's a great value. PECO's paid to do this kind of thing through the Act 29 plan or whatever they have that they have to do this sort of thing. So this is one of the first outreach things that we are going to do jointly. So Schuylkill Township will be involved in that. And then additionally, there will be a subsequent outreach with the PECO representative who handles businesses, commercial accounts. And much the same thing. They'll invite and try to contact commercial accounts and see what they can do for improving their efficiency initially. And all this stuff at first is just cost savings, not outlay of funds. But ultimately, we view this as kind of clean energy 101. Next step is maybe 201, where we do a little bit more, and ultimately 401, where we get into the real renewable energy stuff through a lot of the grants and additional credits that are provided through the Inflation Reduction Act and so on. So that's what's being planned in the future. I hope that satisfies the question.
No, I just wanted to hear what Jonathan's perspective was.
Pardon?
I just wanted to hear Jonathan's perspectives. I don't have enough. Thank you.
Well, so the basis of your question, I think, is that the EAC would be a piece of this. That's where the Clean Energy Resolution came from. I mean, that's where, the task force that was part of it involved one member of the Board of Supervisors, yourself, and someone from the EAC. So I think as just kind of touches every aspect of the township, but just as kind of as a fundamentally environmental effort. I think, so there's two plans, and the community plan is, you know, more of a messaging and outreach. EAC could potentially play a role there, but the municipal plan, 35 pages, lots of policy. I mean, I'm just sort of envisioning breaking off little pieces of sort of bite-sized policy chunks that we could kind of bring to the board in sort of a fully developed manner, possibly involving, you know, one of the other advisory boards if needed. In my years at EAC, I think it makes more sense to bring you guys fully developed concepts as opposed to trying to deliver them and have them trickle back down to the board. So I think the EAC would do some of the heavy lifting and would interface with the other EACs. And part of what's Dennis is talking about is just kind of a post. So 4 townships involved in this grant. And then, in fact, we're meeting tomorrow to kind of create some kind of structure that could involve other townships where there's going to be, you know, enough of information sharing where every township, you know, if there's an ordinance, if there's a policy, if there's a resolution of some kind that makes sense or has been successful in another township, that each individual township's not trying to recreate the entire process. So between the information sharing among the townships and the EAC, that's not to say that would be the only place, you know, piece of policy could emerge from, but I'm thinking myself and probably 2 other members of the EAC would take some of this and run with it. But I think the inner, you know, the communication between the townships is going to be vital. Certain townships have led on a couple other things. I mean, Phoenixville Borough already has a electric vehicle ordinance, so that seems like it's rather than to try to recreate that, I think that's something we could graft from and adopt. So so I think the EAC would be a crucible for a lot of this.
Okay, thanks.
Sure, thank you.
That initial meeting sounds great. Can you be sure to let us know so we can announce that?
Thank you, I was just gonna say.
The PICO meeting, we can put that on our website and make sure that we.
That sounds great.
Set that.
Yeah, get that to Lori as soon as possible so that we can get as many residents interested in that.
Yes, the
sorry.
date has not yet been determined, but it's coming up.
Okay, sorry about that. Ian, I know you're gonna yell at me for not having my microphone on. Yes, well, as soon as that's decided, please make sure you let Lori know that as soon as possible so that we can get as many residents involved.
So later this evening, we have it on our agenda to consider a resolution. I guess I wanted to ask the steps that would, the action steps after that would be that you would then file for a grant? Is that how that works? To get the
Yeah,
funding to go forward?
Yeah, the grant and the funding has already been established. It's just kind of a check the box for the wrap up of the grant.
Okay, and then to the next step, you would then be working as a team to present to the board sections of what you're going to propose as the plan, or is it one lump?
The acceptance of the plan that she just presented is to close out the grant
Okay.
that we have. So this is the last step in
I got
their
you.
work
I got
for
you,
us.
okay.
Going forward, the EAC will be, sounds like, and what I wanted to hear you say is that the EAC will be spearheading and bringing to the board recommendations on how the board could potentially consider adopting certain portions of the plan going forward.
Gotcha.
For right now, all the board is being asked to do is just to simply accept the documents that they have presented to us
Great.
as the final
Got it.
step in the grant so that they can get paid.
Excellent.
May I jump? As I understand this, the spending of money comes later, right? We're not spending any money now in this budget.
I think the money's already been spent.
Okay. There's no-
The
there's no-
grant money.
By approving this process, the township is not obligating itself to spend money.
Correct.
This is a compliance,
Yeah.
this is a step in compliance. They certainly have been paid for the past 18 months, I will assure you.
Indeed.
Any other comments, questions? Well, thank you
Thank you.
very much. Really
Thank you
appreciate you
all.
coming out, and
Thank
thank
you
you,
all for
Jonathan, for all the work you've been doing.
The efforts, yeah.
Great. All right, moving along. Regular business consent agenda, acceptance of minutes of the Board of Supervisors, July 12th, 2023, business meeting, and July 24th, 2023, workshop meeting, all departments, committees, commissions, councils, reports as posted and received by the Board of Supervisors for the month of July 2023. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. Oh,
No, beat me to it.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments from the board? Anything
No.
from the audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, approval of consent agenda, treasurer's report and payment of bills, township manager, creation and acceptance of treasurer's report ending 2023, July 31. Anything to say about that?
Yes, so for period ending July 31st, 2023, we had a general fund balance of just over 5.2 million. We're down about 174,000 over last month, right in line with where we were at this time of the year last year. To date, we have expended 45% of our projected expenditures, and we've received 75% of our projected revenue. So that's the excitement for the treasurer's report for July. And all of the bills have been reviewed and are recommended for payment.
Excellent. I'll make a motion on that. Second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion, questions from the board, from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of disbursements dated August 29th, 2023.
August 9th.
Or August 9th, I'm sorry. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right. Discussion, questions, board, public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, to old business, discussion and possible motion to award an architect a proposal in the amount of, and we'll discuss that, for the municipal complex renovation feasibility study. And do we want to enter into some discussion before we plug that with what our findings were?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so at the workshop meeting, late July, we had 3 different architectural firms come in and do presentations to the public on potential feasibility studies for future renovations of the municipal complex. We had 3 different firms present: Alloy 5, Kimmelbo Gret, and Knorr Architects all provided presentations to the board, and then submitted proposals as well for consideration. So what they were asked, they were all asked to give proposals for the same information. I did tours with each one of the architects and pointed out all of the goals that the board has for future use of this building. And the 3 proposals were submitted for your review, and we're just looking to make an award this evening.
So, looking at the proposals, one that we saw, and I think I personally really liked, was Alloy 5. They came in with a very aggressive price. If I'm not mistaken, what we would be awarding is for the study only, nothing further.
That's correct.
So we're not locked in
That's right.
to just them. But they gave a lot of good case histories at the presentation, as well as followed up with some in writing. And I think 3 out of the 5 came in under budget. 1 was less than 1% over, and 1's in the process of being completed now. Any thoughts?
No,
Across the board?
I agree with everything that you just said. One of the things that I really liked about Alloy 5 was their adaptive reuse of an existing structure, and their idea of making things energy efficient. So I knew you would be happy about that, Jonathan. I really liked the examples that they gave about their adaptive reuse of different buildings that they have done. And I think that that's,
Including their own structure where they have their offices.
yes,
Not only that,
exactly.
but they had a lot of experience with police, how to bring things up to code, some good ideas there. So they seem to hit all the key areas that we wanted to talk about with a tremendous amount of experience and a price that's very aggressive.
Yes, and I do happen to really like their study cost, so,
And Lori, you feel comfortable that the 3 proposals are all equivalent in their understanding of what our work product is going to be? Like the prices that they quoted us, you believe are representative of the same type of output we would get from each of the firms? I just want to make
I
sure we're
do,
making an
yes.
apples to apples comparison.
Yep, absolutely. I had the same meeting with all 3.
Okay.
So they were all given the exact same information of what we were looking for.
Right. One of the things I really liked from the written proposal was the frankness, really, in addressing the limitations of this current building, both for our police force and for our staff. Some of the safety issues, and really as I mentioned at our public workshop, one of my key issues is I think that this project, if we do move forward on it, needs to demonstrate benefit for our community. We need to make sure that we are looking at a redesign of this building and the grounds to make it an asset for our community, not that it's not important, not only for our police force and our staff, but also our residents. So I think all of the firms got that, but I have to say, I think the Alloy presentation was far superior.
And I know that you missed,
The in-person presentation,
but he hit on
Yeah.
everything that you just said,
Yeah.
I think.
I would agree, yes.
So I will make the motion to award
The architect.
the architect proposal to Alloy 5 in the amount of, was that
$8,800.
$8,800 for the municipal complex renovation feasibility study.
I'll second that motion. Any
Okay.
other discussion? Any questions from the public? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to hearing from him. He was, he seemed very, very passionate. Not that the others didn't, but I just think it'll,
You liked his vibe.
yes, I liked his vibe.
A lot of good case histories of like projects. which I
Yeah,
think
exactly,
was good.
exactly.
Okay, new business. Authorize advertisement of Comcast cable franchise ordinance. I will make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
So there were a couple of things as I reviewed the executive summary from the firm that had negotiated and these aren't necessarily criticisms of the license agreement. I understand we are an 8,000 resident, municipality. We are not going to compel, the behemoth that is Comcast, far off of their negotiating position. But I thought it was interesting, some of the things that are in this license agreement, such as credits for service interruptions to our residents if they have service interruptions for more than 6 hours. There are other customer service guarantees that are in this license. And there are reporting requirements whereby we as a municipality have the ability to request and Comcast must provide information on customer service metrics and complaints that our residents have made to Comcast, and also confirm whether there were service interruptions, because each of those residents who does have a service interruption for a certain period of time is entitled to, I think, a monetary compensation for that. And so, while we, I have no objection to the license agreement, but I think that we need to be mindful that we have these things built into this agreement and we should act on them, and we should definitely make requests to get this information, during the course of the 10-year license that we have with Comcast. And so I don't know if that's been our practice in the past, but I think it's something that we have, it's an onus on us to do that, to make sure that we are truly understanding what the quality of service is for our citizens. I did have one question. I know that under the license, they are obligated to provide us with an educational government channel. And I wanted to know, is that a change, or do we already have that in our license? Do we use it? Have we bequeathed it to the school district? Do you know the answer to that question? And that it's not fundamental to whether we advertise the ordinance, but.
They are obligated to provide it to us if we ask for it. We have not asked for it.
Okay.
Because it would be
We'd have to have someone to run
much
it.
more involved for us
Yes.
to do. So
Yeah.
that is not something that we've taken advantage of in the
It's not
past.
cheap.
Okay. Well,
It's not, well, it's free,
they would
but
it's
it's
free.
not.
We'd have to have someone run it.
Yes.
No, I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I wanted to
That
know
is
whether.
something that I would say that generally you really only see the larger municipalities doing things like that. You'll see them running public access channels where they'd be broadcasting their board meetings. It's an option that we could ask for in the future, but as it stands right now, I wouldn't see that being something that we have the capability
I was just curious
to do.
because I know that, obviously the school district does. They have a Phantom TV.
Yeah,
They have a public access channel. so.
yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions? Comments or questions from the public? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
And just to be clear, all we're doing there is advertising the ordinance, so it will come back to be adopted.
Okay. Authorize advertisements for equipment rental bids for 2023-24. I'll make that motion.
I'll
Is there a
second.
All right, any discussion?
Nope.
Any comments, questions from the public? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Authorize advertisement for snow removal bids for 2023-24. I'll make that motion. Second, anybody?
Second.
All right, any discussion, comments, questions?
Just, we typically get one response a year for the snow removal.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Approximately.
Just, I mean, I'm just wondering.
Well,
for-
sometimes we get two. Sometimes.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, I mean, so we're gonna be consistent with our advertising this year, or we're looking for any alternatives to?
We are looking at alternatives, and I've had actually several meetings with PennDOT about how we can go about that, but everybody's in the same boat as we are. PennDOT can't even find people to do their snow removal right now, so.
Okay.
It's a challenge, but that's why I'm asking, that's why we've asked for the advertisements to be authorized separately, so that we have the option to bid out equipment rental separate from snow, but we are looking at other options.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've seen other municipalities that haven't gotten any bids, and they're in a little bit worse of a scenario than us with our one, so.
So in the past, we had them lumped together. By breaking it up, we may open up to more bidders.
Or alternatively, we may end up with 0, but we're looking into options. I'm just asking for the authorization to advertise this evening to give us some flexibility to work through some of those challenges.
Any
Okay,
other-
thanks, Lori.
Any other comments, questions, the board, audience? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Martha might just be plowing for us this year, maybe. She's got a CDL, so.
I
We can call
do.
EJ back.
There we go.
I
I know he's got
do.
one.
But you don't need a CDL for that, do
No,
you?
not here, no.
No.
You're overqualified to apply.
I'm overqualified. Oh.
Most qualified.
Yeah, but
Alright.
unfortunately, I like my blanket when it's snowing.
Yeah.
So
And we need to go up there, not over a cliff somewhere.
I'm gonna stay home.
All right, consider approval of proposal from Vince McClatchy Stonework in the amount of $9,800 to remove mortar cracks on both sides of the stone wall and at Anderson Cemetery. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll make a few comments about it. I was out there today just because I really wanted to see that we were addressing everything that needed to be addressed. I was out there a while back, and there's plenty of cracks and mortar that can be removed and repointed. And we had done some emergency repairs in the past that Nick did a great job to preserve it, to get it to the point where it is now. But the biggest concern I had is that I'll say the northeast and southeast corners were compromised underground. The actual foundation, years past, had started to cave, and the walls, the corners, all the way to maybe 5-6 feet into the walls, were starting to fall off the walls of the graveyard cemetery. So I met with Vince, and I felt it was important for at least one of us to go out and see it and explain that we don't want to just repair something and have it fall off again, because it keeps cracking in the same spots. So we came up with some ideas to not to dig up the foundation. He mentioned that you could put a small stone wall up as a brace, which I didn't think we could do without probably a lot of engineering review and possibly infringing into PennDOT's right of way. But his thoughts were that we can build a good bit of soil up around the edges you can see where it's eroded away. So if he levels that off and compresses it with a specific soil that he and Nick talked about, and then did the repairs that it should hold it from caving in. And it's basically falling straight away on both sides, one side toward the road and the other side toward the park. So he agreed to that, and he's saying it's going to be 4 to 5 days of just hard mortar and then matching it up to look consistent with what's there. So I went and also looked. He has a case history in the township where he did repair the chimney on the old building, and I went up and took a look at that after meeting with him, and that's held up nicely. It's worked out pretty well. So Nick felt good about it. I think it's the right thing to do. Otherwise, if we don't, within a couple years, it's going to fall off.
And this is I don't know if it's a designated historical site, but it's on Valley Park. For people not familiar with it, it's on Valley Park Road, and it's adjacent to
Valley Park.
Yeah.
it's
The
in
park.
The park on
Yeah.
Valley Park.
It's visible from the road, but, so,
It's a 300-year-old wall, possibly. I think the first graves there go back to the early 1700s, right? So it's held up really well. And actually, if you look down the line of the walls, except for these corners, it's not as good as the pyramids, but it's pretty darn close. So they did a good job originally. I'd like to see it come back to good condition and look consistent with the rest of the mortar and everything that's there. And he's convinced that he can do that. He's got a guy that matches mortars and puts the right finish on afterwards, and I think it'll be a nice job. So, any other discussion? Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, discussion on Valley Forge Sewer Authority 10 and 20-year sewer reserve capacity analysis.
I can handle that. So this, and we don't really have to discuss much on this, I just threw it on here as just sort of an update. We were asked by the Sewer Authority to update for them our reserve capacity analysis, which is basically our engineering analysis of how many EDUs we think we may need in the future, assuming the township gets completely built out over the next 10 and 20 years. We had done this back in 2021.
Right.
So it was just a brief update, just bringing it to the board's attention. Our number changed very marginally and actually went down slightly. So there's nothing to vote on this evening. It just was an update. And the reason for that update is because one of the partner municipalities has offered to sell some of their reserve capacity to the sewer authority, which kicks in this process where they then have to ask everybody else, okay, are your numbers still the same? How much capacity do you potentially need over the next 10, 20 years? And that's pretty much it. It's a formality that DEP requires. So
So it's pretty fortunate that we did that update back in 2021.
yes.
Makes it easy.
Yeah, made it real easy.
Yes, the analysis was, made it much easier to go through this. And when we did the analysis too, we did look at some parcels and we, although there was no subdivision plans at the time, we did look at the zoning and we tried to figure out what a potential max yield would be based off of assumed right-of-way, assumed or required open space, and then what could be lotted out. So we definitely may have been aggressive with the numbers, stating what would potentially be built in some of the parcels in the township.
But that's good. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure
Right.
that we have overestimated. So there may be more to come on this as soon as we have resolution. As I understand it, I talked to the sewer authority. I had a meeting with them a week and a half ago and then again today, and it hasn't gone any further yet. So I'll keep you posted if there is any update on that. And then I also intend to have representatives of the sewer authority come at some point in one of our future meetings to just kind of give everybody an update on where they're at, what they're working on, and hear from the joint board.
So one of the things that was discussed, I'm kind of changing the subject, but it's kind of related. One of the things that was discussed probably back in 2016 was for us to update our 537 plan. Is that needed since we did this analysis in 2021?
No, I don't think we have to update our 537 plan at this time. We did an analysis based off of what were the projects. This was, the previous township engineer had started this process and we took it over and we worked with EJ at the time, EJ Mentry, who was the
Right.
township manager, to work through what would be some projections based off of the, this started in 2021 to 2025, and then we built out into, 2026 all the way out to 2045 at the time. And obviously, once you get so far out, it's throwing darts on the wall. But what we did do is, like I said, we looked at some larger parcels of land in the township, and just in the event that it was fully subdivided, what would be a very strong guesstimate on what could be built there. We also have included every year 2 future lots in which, if a lot is served by a septic field today and if it's a failing system or a real estate transaction, and there would be new testing, if they wouldn't be able to get the testing, that they would have the ability to connect into the system. So we assume that there could be potential 2 failures per year moving forward. I don't want to call it future lots. It could be a future lot or an existing home that just needs a septic field that they can no longer get the approvals for based off of the contaminants and the boundaries and the borders that you would need.
Well, that's really good news, because when we looked into how much that was going to cost, it was a lot of money. It was like $70,000 or $80,000 for us to update our 537 plan. And if you don't think that that's necessary, then yay.
Yeah, it's typically has to do with if there's a large sewer extension and there's a
Okay.
new area of public sewer to tap into and things like that. But yeah, at this point, that's not something that's going on within the township, so there would be no need to update the plan unless the, supervisors would want to, but I
Okay.
don't see a need to.
Okay, cool. That's great news.
Great. Any other discussion? Any comments?
And I'm really happy to hear that they'll be coming and providing. It's a huge asset that's in our township, and I think we should all be more aware of it. And if you have not toured a wastewater treatment plant, I have toured several, and so I recommend. It's an enlightening experience.
That is a smell that you never forget.
Yes.
It's the smell of
Although
money
this
in
one
this
is very
business.
clean.
I was gonna say, is-
Yes.
I don't mean that facetiously. I mean, it really is. It's impressive.
Yes,
and
it really is.
And
People,
it's not
people would notice if they did not have that service, but they
Yes.
do not appreciate
Yes.
its existence.
Absolutely.
So.
And it's not as bad of a smell as
That's all.
I have
as you would
Depends on
expect.
what part you're in.
Yes, yes.
Inlet, it's pretty bad. The outlet, it's pretty amazing.
Uh-huh.
Still wouldn't drink it, but. Okay. Any other comments, or questions? All right, discussion on Light the Night for Hope and Healing event to be held on October 10th, 2023. Would anybody like to?
You want me to talk about that?
I thought that you might be
Yeah,
willing
we have
to do
you
that.
slated to give a talk now.
Okay. So, the Domestic Violence Center of Chester County has planted a tree on our property over by the old Township building. And in honor of a resident that unfortunately passed away due to domestic violence a few years ago. And October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And every October since then, they have come to have a ceremony here, and they light the tree with purple lights because purple is the domestic violence color. And this year, like they did last year, they're going to be doing, unfortunately, the Domestic Violence Center has planted multiple trees all over the county in honor of residents that have passed away. And what they want to do is they want to coordinate the lighting ceremonies for them to happen simultaneously, and they did this last year, and it was really cool. And they would like to do it on October 10th of this year, and I have no idea what day of the week that is.
Tuesday,
It's a
because
Tuesday.
I can't go.
Okay. Anyone available? I mean, I will be
October
there.
10th?
Oh, wait a minute, will I be there?
You're gonna be in
It's the
Italy.
second Tuesday of October.
I need my phone.
I would think I can be there, and I was there with Martha, and I think, were you there, Martha?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was there last
Lori.
year, and
it
I was there the first year.
It was really it was really poignant, and in fact, while we were there, two of our officers, I think, responded to a domestic call, which really hit home the impact of the night. And I would really like to see more township residents this year. I think it's especially in support of our, the victim, if there are victims' family members that are in attendance. And so if we can, whatever we can do to advertise it, we
And
should.
What time is that? It's, I see it's on the 10th.
I don't
I
think
think they're
she,
still planning it.
I think
yeah.
they're still planning it. I don't think that they've chosen a time yet. She just wanted to make sure that that date was open for us.
It was in the
Typically
evening last year. I
8 to
think it
10
was
o'clock, somewhere between there.
No, it's usually
it was
earlier.
earlier.
It was about 7:30.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put it in from 7 to 9, that
I
way I'll
think it's
hold a
just to
spot.
save the date
Yep.
right now.
Done. All right, you have at least one person
So Chief,
committing to be there.
if you could have a couple officers available for that, that would be fabulous. And Laurie, do you think that we would need the parking lot from the church across the street?
Ideally, that would be great if we could get that many people to come out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't need it last year, but we can talk to them and see if it's an option.
I think that would be good, just because we don't know how many people are going to attend. And
That would be
I think that would be
If I
a good thing.
recall, I believe we asked the church last year if we could.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
asked them every year. Yeah.
Maybe they'll post it and bring out some folks.
Yeah, I think they did last year too, yeah.
And they had educational information, you know, on, you know, how to respond to domestic violence. So it was, you know, the commemoration of lives of victims, but it was also, there was some practical information shared.
Yeah, and they did talk, they had representatives talk about the services that they offer and the things that they have to offer to people who are suffering from domestic violence, so.
Good deal.
I've actually gotten quite an education. I personally do not suffer from domestic violence, but I've gotten quite an education on the services that they provide, and they're a really, really great bunch of people.
Good. All right.
So I will let Amelia know, or Lori, do you want to let her know? You'll do it? Okay.
Yeah, and that's-
Fabulous.
As soon as we lock in on a time, let me know. Send an email out. Great, thank you. Okay, resolutions and ordinances. Consider adoption of resolution number 2023-14, acceptance of the municipal and community clean energy transition plans. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion? Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, board, 2-minute reports, board liaisons. Anything, Danielle?
I wasn't at the VPP, meeting in July, but I think you've seen the results of the work, the work that the committee has done, and so no need to report on that.
Microphone.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I wasn't at the VPP committee meeting in July, but you can see the results of the work that committee has done. You know, thanks to Jonathan's leadership for our township, and there was no Phoenixville Regional Planning Commission meeting in July.
And thank you for coming over from East Pikeland. We appreciate your input.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good
Thanks.
to see you again.
Yeah. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you. Susan, anything to
Yeah,
report?
nothing from the EAC, just to remind people to sign up for the EAC's alerts, because they have really good content, and they're posting it on Facebook and in other places on social media.
Good deal. Mark, anything to report?
Pollock was here about the Reeves property last month. He'll be here next month. We'll continue to discuss it at length. Last month, they discussed Kurt English, the chairman's comments on the development, and I suppose they've provided some red line documents we'll be discussing this month.
And that's Planning Commission.
That's Planning Commission. Thank you.
All right. Martha, anything?
The Historical Commission talked about their wanting to have historic districts and what that is going to look like, and eventually have a presentation to the board. Lori, Diane sent you a request for them to be able to hold a special meeting for just that. Has a date been set for that?
No.
Okay. So I can't even announce a date for that, but they said sometime early in September, they would like to have what they're calling a workshop meeting to just discuss this one issue.
I anticipate that they will, what I told Diane, I gave her the availability and told her that they should select the date at their next meeting, so I don't expect that we'll know that date until
okay.
after their next meeting.
Okay, all right,
Are they having a Founder's Day this year?
probably not.
Okay.
All right.
That's it?
Okay, and our report, we've had a lot of success working for a good while with Valley Forge Fire Company with strategic planning and quite a few other things. So there's going to be a presentation coming in the future with that. Still more to be done in September. That's coming, so look forward to that. Police, things have been going well there, and it's that time of, I guess, the cycle that we're starting to, work with the police on the next contract coming up, so more to be revealed as that unfolds. Other than that, everything's good. Fire Department, Tom, would you like to say anything?
Not flying solo tonight.
Oh, I jumped ahead.
23 calls for the month. This is Evan's report. 23 calls for the month. 134 members responded, 51 man-hours in service, 15.53 hours for the company in service, 140 hours of man-hours for training. Let's see, what else are the highlights here? 10.2 members average for each response, 192 calls for EMS, and 2 upcoming events with details to follow next month. But save the date, October 14th for the lasagna sale and October 9th for fire prevention.
All right, well, I
Tom?
gotta get my lasagna order in.
There was one thing in the report on, like, the descriptions of different types of calls. There was one that's called police. I don't have it in front of me, but I remember reading it last night. I was just wondering what that is. Is that when the police department contacts the fire department for?
Fire police?
Yeah, fire.
Fire police is when we go out and direct traffic to assist the police department.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. I wasn't familiar with that.
You guys are doing great work, Tom, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
All right,
for the support.
Township Manager. I sort of jumped out of order there, my apologies.
Oh, that's all right. Keep us on our toes. So just a couple things. Road Department started paving operations this week. They've been working on milling. So paving program for this year is St. John Circle, Melvin, and Pennypacker. So paving will be starting, Tina, next? On Monday. Starting on Melvin Place. So that will be happening between 7 and 3. There will be parking restrictions in place. The residents that live in the affected area are being notified, and it's on the website. So that's going well. Milling went great, actually. We are also working on our general code recodification project. If you all recall, a couple months ago, we authorized that. It's a ton of work. So expect there to be a lot of discussions coming up. We have to have our piece done by September. That is not when the overall project will be done yet. We have hundreds of questions that we have to answer for them in order to move on to the next step. So I expect there to be a lot of updates to our ordinances coming out of this process. So just expect to see some of that at future meetings.
That's needed.
Absolutely, it definitely is. And then the last thing that I didn't cover during the treasurer's report, but it was late last year or early this year that the board authorized us to open some accounts with Pliget to do some investing. So I am happy to report that as of July 31st, we have made over $240,000 in interest income this year.
Sweet.
Primarily in our open space fund, but all by just a matter of moving some money into different accounts. So
And it would have been a tiny fraction of that had we not made the move.
absolutely, I mean, yeah, absolutely. So I'll be coming to you with some recommendations for some other investments now that we've seen. I'm comfortable with Pliget. It's been going really well, and Peter and I have been working on some investment strategies for some of our other funds that we don't need to spend the money on. That's also something the fire department and I have been talking about, how to make them some interest income on some of their capital money.
Seems like a great number based on the open space number we heard.
Yeah, so it's been going very well. I mean, I don't want to, it can't
Awesome.
last forever, but
Man, while the
happy to
waves
have taken
there,
advantage of
yeah,
it.
Ride it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Chief of Police, Chief, would you like to give us an update?
Good evening. The police activity report for July, I guess, was emailed to everybody. Did you have any questions? No? Okay. Just a couple other things I just wanted to update the board on. The grant that we received from PCCD for $138,000 to replace our body cameras, our in-car cameras, and add another license plate reader to one of our vehicles. We're in the process of working with Axon and the license plate reader company to get all that equipment ordered and delivered.
Oh, so we got the grant.
We did.
Oh, that's
Thought I advised-
fabulous.
Yeah, we
That's
knew-
wonderful.
Yeah, we knew it was coming, but we waited forever.
I didn't get we didn't have the official award, email letter. I had preliminary information on their website that we were awarded the grant.
Oh,
I didn't want
that's
to say
great.
anything until we got the official, like you got the grant.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's a lot of money, that's great.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And a lot of other townships didn't get.
Right.
what we did. So great job writing that up. And
Thank you. Yeah, that was money well spent on Lexipol, helping
Yeah.
us write the grant, so. So we're getting all that equipment ordered, and there's a backlog on the in-car cameras, so they're trying to speed that process up for us. So I'm hoping that we can get that done pretty quickly.
Great.
Cool.
The only other thing I just wanted to advise the board of was the department just started our active shooter training. East Pikeland has partnered with us because if something happens at our schools, they're coming. So it only makes sense that we train together. So our first training day was last Saturday, and our second training day is this upcoming Saturday. One of our officers, Officer Shalis, is a certified instructor. He's working with an East Pikeland instructor to put the class on. I attended last Saturday, and it was really well done. Instructors did a great job. All the officers that went through did an outstanding job. So, typically, this would be an annual training, but I'm going to make it, we're going to train more than that. It's not going to be just an annual training. We're going to train on a consistent basis on active shooter because it's so important. And with school coming up, and it's important that we're trained.
So I wanted to ask, I know we have a lot of involvement with the schools as far as the officers showing their faces, giving presentations and getting to know the kids and having the kids accept them as the good guys. And does East Pikeland also know the inside of the school layout as well as?
So the officers that came to training on Saturday, we're doing half and half because of our schedules. So like half of our officers went last Saturday, half of our officers will go this upcoming Saturday. East Pikeland's doing the same thing. A lot of those officers said that it was their first time in a building. So they're not very familiar with the building.
That's a good idea to get them in there so they
Right.
know every room and hallway and closet, whatever the layout is.
Right.
The more they know, the better. I know we do, but
Yeah.
if they had to go in or got there, but I'm sure they wouldn't get there first, but
Right.
the more they know, the better. Yeah. Great.
So that's it for me, unless you have any questions.
I just want to say this is the first time I see you since Cones for Cops. That was such a wonderful event, and I feel like we should have the police department engaged as our social media coordinators. I mean, they had such attendance there. I mean, you really did. You got so many people. I don't know if you took a head count of how many residents came for that event, but
Yeah.
it was impressive.
Yeah, between the pictures I saw, and obviously being there, but then the parking lot across the street, the church was completely full.
Yeah.
So last year we had a really good turnout. This year I think we doubled that.
Awesome.
So it was a really good event, and we're going to continue to expand on it. And everybody that I talked to said that it was great, and they were happy, and there was a ton of kids there, which was outstanding.
And they liked the fire trucks too.
And the moon bounce was a big hit too.
Good, great idea.
Yeah. Next year we're thinking about maybe a dunk tank or something like that.
Will you be
Dunk
in
a
it?
supervisor?
Yeah, not with a supervisor.
I'm trying to get me to go in.
I'll volunteer,
No,
Bob.
the youngest person goes first the first year, and then the next year, and then, yeah.
This job is glamorous
No,
enough.
no. I volunteer, Bob.
I'll do it.
volunteer, Bob.
I'll take a dunk, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys are doing great work. We
Thank you.
appreciate everything you're doing. So
Appreciate
keep it up.
Thank you.
And I will make a phone call to the school district so that we can both be introduced to the new superintendent. So I'll
Thank you.
see what I can do.
Okay.
Excellent. Great.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Township Engineer, Paul.
Yes, just an update on Paul Lehman Drive. Last week there was a punch list walk on Thursday, the 3rd. I was not available, but an engineer, an inspector were there as well as Dolly, the site contractor. There were some items that we could not see. Some of the manholes were sealed, and we have to get out there because we had questions and concerns about some of the holes and some, not cracks, but like the pick holes, and they had to get porged up and things like that. We weren't able to get the full access to go through the punch list. Additionally, there was one section of curb where we want some additional backfill put in just so that it can help promote the drainage. That was the goal there. Dolly had no objection to that. So there's a tentative walk again in about 2 weeks to go through that. If everything goes well, we'll submit the pay application for the supervisors for your review, and then they would go onto their maintenance bond.
Excellent. Okay. Additional business discussion of agenda items for upcoming workshop meetings, and I've got one I wanted to talk about. And I don't know if we already did this, but we mentioned the Valley Forge Sewer Authority, and I know we used to have some communication with one of the old supervisors, but I think there's been talk of somebody else coming in. Did we set anything up to bring them in?
No, not yet. It's not been scheduled yet.
Okay. Is that something we do at a workshop maybe, or?
We could do it at a workshop, yeah.
Okay.
Or they could come to a regular business meeting.
Either or.
So
I think they're an asset that we need to keep in touch with and know what's going on over there.
That is on my list to get them scheduled, and I did discuss that with them when I had the meeting with them 2 weeks ago. It's just a matter of getting dates together.
Great.
Maybe a plastic bag ordinance discussion, and I think what I've mentioned before is that Phoenixville Borough has recently passed one.
No, they did not.
They did not pass it.
No, they postponed it last night.
They postponed it last night.
Yes, they
It was
did.
on the agenda, yeah.
Okay. Well then, something to talk about maybe at a workshop, but
Yeah, maybe,
maybe not for the next one. That's interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
So imminently, so we have the August workshop on the 24th. The September workshop, we're going to have the fire department as well as the consultant that has been working on the fire department strategic plan for us. So he will be here, the fire department will be here, so we'll have kind of 2 presentations that night for September.
What do we have for August?
We don't have anything scheduled for August yet, so that is what we need to discuss. If we had initially said that what I had tentatively planned for August was the clean energy transition plan, but we did that this evening, so. So we can, if there's anything else that we'd like to discuss in August, the next things I have are September is planned for the fire department, October will be a budget meeting. And then we don't generally have workshops in November and December.
Well, I'm taking my plastic bag ordinance off the table for the
Yeah, we'll hold
August
that.
agenda. Yeah, I want
We'll
to
hold that to a future.
touch base with some council people in Phoenixville first.
Yeah, the other items I had that we had discussed previously that were on the board's list was the vehicle purchase policy, but I think that ties into the clean energy transition plan, so I expect that we'll discuss that with EAC in the future. The historical commission would like to do their mid-century modern presentation for the board, but they're not ready to do that
They're not ready
for a
to
couple
do that.
months.
Yeah.
So I'm looking until probably the beginning of 2024 for that. So if we
Okay.
don't have anything for August, we don't need to have a workshop.
Okay.
We
All
will
right.
have an executive session that evening, however.
All right.
Can we
I
do
was
that,
gonna say,
can we do that remote?
Yeah.
Can we do that are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, I have to do it remotely.
I'll be here. I mean, I kind of prefer to meet in person, but if it's more convenient for everybody, we can do it remote.
Yeah, I'll be in Montana, so remote's a must for me.
Okay.
I will be here, so
Okay,
All right.
okay.
we
Good
can
deal.
call whoever wants to participate
I just
remotely.
find that we have more open conversation if we're in the same room.
Yeah, so we will have that executive session on, yes,
Yes, please.
but we will have
She
no,
might not want you there, but
I always
I'm
want Paul
kidding.
here.
I'm kidding.
So no workshop
Paul
meeting.
wishes he could escape me sometimes, I think. No public workshop meeting on August 24th, so we will post that
Okay, delete
cancellation, but we will have executive session.
Okay. Got it. All right, announcements. What have we to announce?
I have just a couple of dates as reminders. So, well, now we covered August 24th. The workshop is canceled. August 23rd at 6 p.m. is the continued conditional use hearing for Wawa. So that will be in this room at 6 p.m. on August 23rd.
Yeah.
And then 24th, no workshop. Monday, September 4th, the township is closed for Labor Day.
Lori, do we have a time limitation for the Wawa hearing on the 23rd?
We did not establish a time limitation.
Okay, so we could go I'm just wondering whether there's any interest in consolidating the workshop, the executive, our executive session on the same day as the hearing, but if there's, if it
Depends
could,
if you want me to.
why?
I can't make the 23rd.
Oh, you
Yeah.
can't make the 23rd, then we'll keep it as is.
Yeah.
I will be there for the 23rd.
I'm stuck in the house.
Danielle called.
I won't be calling in from
All right.
That's all I have for announcements.
Okay, public comment. Yes. Could you give us your name and address, please?
Hi, my name's Andrew Wagner, live at 78 South Spring Lane. I'm here to talk about the new development of the single-family home going in the adjacent lot with my neighbors here. I addressed you guys in June's meeting, and I really had hoped to come here to eat my hat. I had a lot of concerns, and they were more from a theoretical point. Unfortunately, I'm not here to do that. I'm here because almost all of my concerns turned out to be correct. Since the storm, somewhat was in early July, it was a flash flood type, one that we get several times throughout, and we've had several, I think 3 since that date. Our houses were affected. My house was affected but not damaged, only because I had put a decorative fence up guarding the corner of my home, which it struck, which was a changed path in water. And Alex and his wife here, their home's basement flooded because of a different path of water that I had warned about and that wasn't changed, wasn't addressed. And our frustration now has now gone from potential damages to actual damages. And the damages are such that every time we see rain in the forecast, we are in the territory where we are putting sandbags in front of our homes, putting hay bales in front of the corners of them, and putting up decorative fences to deflect water. That was never the case before. I've lived at my property for 3 years, and I can show you on video and through eyewitness accounts where it did and did not run, in which directions and how much, depending on what storm we're talking about. These are new flow patterns, higher velocities, and they're overrunning our natural defenses that we had in place. And this is all due to the artificial movement of the stormwater from where it used to go to where it does now, as well as the confinement in a pipe, which increased the velocity, which caused, in my estimation, I'm not a stamped engineer, but his problem. I don't want to drone on and on. I did that last time. I told you all about my concerns, and quite frankly, just me verbally doing it doesn't really stand to establish much. So I'm going to leave the floor to somebody else that was affected, that he lives right next door to me, and he'll stand up and talk now.
Hello, my name is Alexander Leventhal. I live at 84 South Spring Lane. This is my partner for 10 years, Ashley Flick. She also lives there. We are more or less new to the area. We've lived there a little less than 2 years. And on July 25th, we had a no-joke river. I sent images over, email to everybody. And in my panic, I called the wrong township. I called Phoenixville Township because, hey, I live in Phoenixville, right? Immediately they picked up. They offered to come over, put sandbags, do every single thing in their power that they could, until they informed me that I live at Schuylkill Township. They apologized. I said, that's fine. I had not heard a formal response from Schuylkill Township of what they could do for me until August 2nd. Until they said, Lori was out on vacation, yada, yada. August 5th, I was informed that a special inspector went out. I sent a follow-up email asking, hey, what was found? What will be done? I have yet to have a response. My home, my property, my family is in danger. I had multiple contractors come out and say, if this keeps happening, you're not going to have a house. There was a problem that was created by this drain pipe. You approved this drain pipe. This is now my problem. I'm asking, what solutions do you guys have other than, I guess I don't have a home anymore? That's where I stand. Thank you.
Do you also want to say anything, or?
I'm Ashley Flick. I live at 84 South Spring Lane. And I'm just going to tell you about the impact it had on me. I fully work from home. And when I was watching the water go down, I had no fears. We've had water before, but ever since they installed that pipe, there was a river that came towards our house. And for the first time, I didn't really feel safe in my house. And there was nobody there to help us. We called, we tried everything we could, but nobody really answered us. I have a constant fear now because of this pipe, and every time there's a rainstorm, we just sit there and wait. We don't know what to do. We've had no one come out to help. Everyone's just been telling us the bad news. It's our problem, no one's helping us, and it's just gonna result in more damage. So it's scary working from home now, and I just hope that we can come to some sort of resolution and figure this out. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Thank you, guys. I appreciate you coming out, and we hear you. All right, anything else we need to go over? At this point, I believe we've hit the end. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.